Hello, folks. It's Richard Moore. I'm back with another story that, and folks, these stories, as I get them, it never ceases to amaze me how law enforcement easily sweeps someone's death, and in these cases I feel murder, under the rug. Maybe we've been misled or have some false sense of what law enforcement actually does. Maybe we watch too much television, or maybe we have individuals in law enforcement that are protecting their own and serving their own self-interest. And I don't believe that this is an exception to the rule. And I'm going to put the pictures up. And so I'm talking today about Kayla Prestridge from Amory, Mississippi. And I'm reading some notes that her mother posted on Facebook, and they have a Justice for Kayla page on Facebook. And she writes on, now I want to preface what I'm going to say with this for the family, especially Kayla's mother. I absolutely feel your pain. At 16, my 18-year-old brother was found dead in a jail cell in Muscle Shoals City Jail. He was 6'4", and it was a little over 5 feet where he hung himself. The math didn't work, and he was picked up on a public intox. We suspected foul play then, and still do. And I'll say a parent should never, ever have to bury one of their children. I saw what it did to my dad, and my mother's still with us. It changes you, especially when they're snatched away way too early. And this happens to be the case with Kayla. I'm not familiar with the story, the case, and that's usually the deal with the ones that I get. I mean, I'm just I'm not in the know on the local news and what have you, due to my ongoing battles with community-oriented policing, corrupt law enforcement, and bad state actors on a national basis. And this is not a fun job. It's a non-paying job too, by the way. So I just read a little bit. I didn't have to read much. And what I didn't read is the family and friends I don't believe, and I could be wrong, but I don't believe they have heard what I'm going to say. I'm pretty sure they hadn't. So I'm going to add I'm going to give you some information on this. Now, this information will help you and get you in the right direction, and will settle you on some things that you're unsure of. Hopefully, I'm going to confirm those things for you. I'm not saying that it's going to make your journey any easier. But as friends and family push and other people for information leading to anything, that anyone that has information about Kayla's death, if they heard something, they saw something, chances are that she may have had problems before with this individual, and I think it's Jonathan Thompson. Now, as I look at this, it is Jessica Stacks in Union County. She's been missing for a year. And I'm seeing a common thread. And it's not just with Jessica. There are more people. And folks, it's just absolutely not good news. You can't make up what I'm hearing from different families where their son or daughter is died or missing, and get the same answers, the same runaround. You can't make this up. There's only one thing that describes what you're hearing, okay? And I'm going to tell you what you're hearing while you're hearing it. So as I read this, I do a little investigation myself. I call a few people, and so I shored up what I was thinking. Her mother writes, October 22nd, 2018 is the day I will never be able to forget. It changed my life forever. This is the day our daughter, sister, loving mother, and friend, Kayla Prestridge, 25 years old, was brutally taken away from us. Today, Kayla's baby girl was forever robbed of making memories with her mommy. She was taken from us harshly by someone who claimed to love her, but sure wasn't love. Everyone claimed to love her. 730 days, and it's been more days that have now passed, and we still have yet to receive any of the answers or truth of what really happened. That 730 days that her killer or killers have been roaming free with no consequences. I'm going to help you narrow that down. They say that Kayla jumped from a moving car while arguing with her daughter's father. Now, I don't know what his name is. The hospital and doctors, this is in Amory. Okay, this is Gilmore Hospital. And it's, it's, God forbid you have to go there. Say she had no type of injuries proving that to be true, that she jumped from the car. She had no scratches, road rash, or anything to back up the statement of her jumping from a vehicle. Before letting the person that morning, by not asking more questions or even meeting with family before letting the person that morning dropped off driving on, was told not to be out driving on influence. That's the same person. I guess the person was driving her. Maybe it's because the shift changed, or maybe they were overworked. No one even followed up until Tupelo Hospital requested the investigators to come to the hospital. So she got moved. My daughter's gone now. Nothing's been done about it. How am I supposed to explain? And she goes on to say, domestic violence needs to be taken serious. Indeed it does. We have laws that are in place that are designed to take domestic violence very serious. We have laws, state and federal laws, that makes it a crime to criminally stalk a person. But just because these laws are on the book does not mean that law enforcement will enforce those laws. And there's not a button you can mash to make them do their job. There is a process, however. And this process is two-pronged. One, you have federal civil relief that you can get from law enforcement not doing their job. 2, while doing their job, if they're silent on complaints that have been made and a person is injured, well, their silence is consent. In other words, if someone's following you and something bad happens, you've already reported it to law enforcement, then ultimately it falls on them. That's Title 18, Section 242, crimes committed under the color of law. And that covers judges, lawyers, the whole thing. And I'm telling you, folks, that covers that. Now, the Department of Justice has to initiate that criminal charge. But I assure you that a federal question on a lot of these cases will absolutely trigger that criminal investigation. And we do have some criminals with badges on that are involved in this deal with Kayla Prestridge. There's no question about it. I put a picture up, and you can go to the Facebook page and see more of those. The picture up of one of the shirts. And also, and I didn't put them up, some pictures of Kayla, markings on her body, bruises, handprints, things like that. You just don't get that from jumping from a car. So she was either on Hester cutoff, or and that cuts into, I believe, 371, right outside of Amory there. Why they haven't done anything, I don't know. But I'm going to tell you what I do know. I've also posted 2 screenshots of Kayla's phone, and one of them says she's texting her mother, "Can you come pick me up at the Chevron?" And as a matter of fact, I'll read the text to you. This is okay. And I've posted that on there. It's really self-explanatory. It's 5:38. This is on. Well, she died 2 days later in the hospital. At 5:38, come get me from the Exxon, which is in town there in Amory. At 5:38. At 6 o'clock, the mother, Debbie, texts back, "When? Are you there now?" When at 6, and at 6:42, "Are you there now?" The very next text, someone else is texting from Kayla's phone. It says, "Debbie, come to the hospital. Kayla is in the ER." This would be the last, that was in fact the last text message that Kayla ever made. The last conversation that a mother had with her child. And I'm sure she's thinking, why didn't I get the text right then? She was asleep, I think, and it's and I hope she's not doing that. But I'm thinking that I'm putting myself in that. Then that would in itself would be difficult. Thinking that somehow, a parent always thinks somehow that there's something they can do to help their child. Well, I can tell you, there's something you can do. And what you can do is we can make sure that Kayla Prestridge, her death was not in vain. And we can make sure that we hold these public officials accountable until they do their job, until this family can get closure, and hold these public officials accountable and replace them, because we should not have to tell a public servant how to do their job. They're on the payroll. If you can't get something this big right, I don't care what else you're saying. Nothing else matters. When we talk about the very lives of our family, our children, and how are they keeping them safe? A killer is running loose on the street. Why didn't they question Jonathan Thompson? I don't know if he's the boyfriend or who he is. He's obviously the one that that was in the vehicle with her. Now, this is going to remind a lot of you about a lot of cases here in North Mississippi. First of all, he's a snitch. Working for who? Law enforcement. Are y'all getting the picture? The last person to see Jessica Stacks, his daddy was a card-carrying snitch, and like father, like son. That's how it works. Now, so it's easy to I can visualize this because I know who the sheriff was at that time. It's Cecil Castro. When Cecil Castro lost his last bid for sheriff, the only thing he did that I could partly commend him for was he pulled away from this multi-jurisdictional task force with federal, state, and all that stuff, and letting those folks meddle in the business of the sheriff. He's elected by the people of Monroe County to be the chief law enforcement officer and not to be beholden to the federal government and all these people sticking their nose. And then after he gets out, this Kevin Crook guy, he signs back up. You see, you don't kick against the pricks, and that was when Cecil bowed out of that deal. Then it was just a matter of time. They would make sure he didn't get reelected. Usually, a sheriff that has been in office that long retires and goes home. That's the deal. They don't get beaten in an election. It's unheard of. But he did. He changed churches. He was having problems. He was going to Central Grove Baptist Church and changed churches. Now, those that have been following me, I've already told you that Central Grove Baptist Church is a phony country club, and I've caught them stalking, teaming up, organizing there, and creeping and stalking and following and terrorizing people, mainly me, right from that church. They turned on him apparently, and it was all, there was no chance. But the mentality, Cecil's last day at the sheriff's department, there was a shooting and a man died, and a person was there, and they related to me that they were trying to tell the sheriff about it, but he lost an election and all that, about this guy getting killed. And he said, I'm going to tell you, all it is a drug deal gone wrong. That's just one less we got to worry with. I don't give a shit. That's what he said. I'm going to the house. And that was somebody's son that just got killed. He didn't look at anything. It's not his place to pass judgment. It's a drug deal going bad, and you don't give a shit. And I'm going to tell you, does the new sheriff, there's the people in there, we've got the same people in there. Same people. If I asked Kathy Story, I said, had it ever been suggested that Jessica, I didn't know Jessica, ever used drugs? Yeah. I said, okay, well that explains it to me. And so I knew without asking anybody that this was the underlining narrative that Kayla used illegal drugs. Now, it may say something somewhere. Does that have anything to do with it? No, it has nothing to do with it. So it shouldn't be in there. It has absolutely nothing to do with it. Since when do we marginalize a person's murder because of a habit they may or may not have, or because of decisions they may or may not have made? It doesn't matter what you're ingesting. Nothing justifies being murdered. But I can tell you, in North Mississippi, in the dirty South, what you're dealing with is the elites, and they're not really elites. And if you look at Amory, really, that epicenter there, they, for years, would have special elections to try to legalize alcohol. That's right. This is the 21st century. They drink. It's the swinging, husband swapping capital of the world per capita, but they pretend like they're teetotalers, and they're not. They're not. I've never been just taken back at one town like that as much as Amory, Mississippi. I think they got beer, and they might have to buy it hot and have free people co-sign. I don't know what the deal is, but they're what they were saying. Well, we don't want our town to be like Oklahoma. What they were saying was that was racist. Oklahoma's always been a predominantly black town, and so and Amory has always been a predominantly Klan town, and so. That was their reasoning. The Masons and the Klan, the stronghold there, you know. So if you start talking about a person, so I can hear him now. What about this Kayla Prestridge? Well, you know, she was out there on that dope, and they got to wound up, and she jumped out of the car going 100 miles an hour. Well, that sounds about right. Could you pass me some cornbread? And they move right along. And folks, let me tell you, I find that scenario to be one of the most repulsed and pathetic and morally reprehensible statement. But this is what we're dealing with. Now, going back to the snitch. These snitches work for law enforcement. And I will tell you, community-oriented policing. These people, these snitches, are out there creating crime to keep, and crime pays. You keep the jail full, the courts full, the lawyers busy, the bondsmen busy, the prisons busy, keep building prisons. It is a money-making deal. God forbid everybody have a come to Jesus moment and we got a slack and locking people up. And it didn't have to be that they will create a crime, and in this case, we would not have the drugs in North Mississippi without law enforcement bringing them in. We got cocaine in America because the CIA brought it in and financed the Contra War. Privately funded it off the backs of African Americans primarily because they was cooking crack, filled the prisons up, people died, robbed, crime went through the roof, imprisoned tens upon thousands of people with addiction. Our country. Now, Barry Webb broke that story, and they all but ruined him. And 4 years to the date, CIA admitted that he was right. They did do it. But it was buried back in the Ann Lander section because the country was too caught up with a stain on a blue dress. So if you're wondering, what is the deal with this monocle is, why are we still talking about it? That's why. It was a cover for the story, the real story. I think that our government bringing in metric tons of cocaine is a bigger story than a stain on Monica Lewinsky's dress. But that was a diversion tactic. Now we have, in Barry Webb, they found him, I believe it was 7 years to the date, in his apartment, dead of suicide, with two bullet wounds to the head. All right. All that to say this. When I tell you the former sheriff, long-running sheriff of Chickasaw County, Jimmy Simmons, was the biggest methamphetamine dealer and operator in the state, that's fact. That's fact. That's not hearsay. That's fact. Now, are we to assume that this very lucrative business just quit after they had a change of the guard? Come on now. It's all about money. And in community-oriented policing, they're getting millions of dollars through the Department of Justice for school districts and all this. And they've got children out here and teams stalking and doing ungodly things. And these snitches and these young people, they want off drugs that they enlist. They go through a lifelong of being controlled. And now these people in a position of power and trust are teaching them that it's okay to betray, lie, steal, and it's theater. They never tell the truth. Policing as a whole is built on a foundation of lie. They're liars. They commit perjury more times than any other profession per capita. Law enforcement. They are liars. That's the deal. I don't know other way of putting it. They're trying to arrest you or whatever. We just want to talk to you. Come in. You know that's a damn lie. They lie. And folks, let me tell you, when you lie for a living, at some point in the game, they believe their own lies. They don't believe it's lying. So, they have dismissed Kayla as being on the wrong stuff. Well, maybe she didn't have the right last name. She didn't go to the First Church of the Chosen Frozen. That does not give you a green light to dismiss her as any less of a person. And a person in law enforcement, I'll guarantee you, if that child, if she'd have been living with her family out at River Birch in Amory, by God, you'd have had the National Guard in. You'd have had somebody. You'd have closed the bridges down. You couldn't have got out of Amory. And the whole deal. I'll guarantee it. But that wasn't the case. That was not the case. Cecil Castro is quoted as saying that as far as he was concerned about an investigation, as far as he was concerned, no crime had been committed. She's got bruises all over, handprints and stuff. That you don't get that from jumping from a car. Of course, Cecil Castro is not qualified to make that ascertain. But his snitch happened to be on the scene. His snitch being held accountable means that snitch might get to talking too much. And all those people have got shit on their shoes, they're neck deep in it. That's why we don't know what the deal is on Kayla. Now, MBI has it, Mississippi Bureau of Investigation. More of the same. And we have the leader of that is the director, Commissioner Sean Tyndall. And that is his pet project, this community-oriented policing. And I'm here to tell you, he was appointed to that job. He wasn't elected, and Tater Reeves put him in there. You got the fox guard in the hen house. It's pomp and circumstance. I'm here to tell you. For them to investigate and charge the person that is culpable in this murder would be for them to put themselves in jeopardy, their careers and everything else. And folks, I'm going to tell you what I think about that. I can give two shits about their career or anything else because we hold them to a higher standard. I don't care what you're trying to protect. And if you're not trying to protect it, prove me wrong. But I've seen too many of these to know that Kayla's mother is not getting, it's in 48 hours. If you ain't got this deal solid for it, it's been 2 years. So we string them along. We sympathize with them. In their minds, they're bullshitting with you. So, folks, let me tell you, it stinks to high heavens. Where does this fall? Well, first of all, it falls on the acting sheriff right now. Now, I heard that he got elected because he was going to the school and reading books to little children and praying with them. And that's a scary thought. I mean, we really need the sheriff not at school reading books to the children. We got teachers for that. We need the sheriff to investigate these murders and start making some arrests. That's what we need. Not reading books to little children and praying with them. I'm sorry. I think that there is a time and a place for everything. Now, this liberal, and it feels good, and it's warm and fuzzy, and how sweet, and homespun, and good, clean, and wholesome, and leave it to Beaver, my ass. Because I'm telling you, the family and the children will never have their mother, and the parents will never have their daughter back. No amount of reading books to these children will bring their mother back. Will bring closure. Will heal the wounds. So it doesn't matter. We know that somewhere in there, this is the underlying story. They're protecting the snitch. And the community-oriented policing is big business. Big business. In order for it to work, they circumvent due process and deny civil and constitutional rights for hundreds and thousands, millions of Americans every year. 4 million, in excess of 4 million complaints of stalking is lodged every year by Americans. And this is 99%. This is organized through community-oriented policing, the network, the COPS program. The window dressing says one thing, but what they're not telling you, and what they can't talk about, and they won't talk about, is this unspoken program where people are systematically targeted, and when they die, they already have the narrative written. Just like they did for Fred and Childa Stevens, Jessica Stacks, Jeremy Williams, Lance Griggs. It's a long list, ladies and gentlemen. It's a long list. What you're reading, what you hear, the Daily Journal, give me a break. Give me a break. Give me a break. If you trust the integrity of the Daily Journal newspaper, that you've got problems. You've got problems. I had a competing business against them, and with the help of Jim Johnson, screwing me out of money. I ran ads for him for free. Didn't intend on it. Only, I shut the business down because they were playing dirty. And only to find out that this is after they set me up in Amory. These people, Jeff Navarro, Ronnie Boozer, I'm naming them. Curtis Knight, they just buried him. They're having a GoFundMe. They must not think highly of him. These people have no problem lying under oath and propping up the crime. Whatever happens, this is what we said. Now, no person knows their child more than their mother. If the mother is saying, she's not in denial, she's saying something ain't right. then by God, something ain't right. And Chris Crook, it's your job to make it right. I think you need to demonstrate some courage. Do not yield to MBI. That is the same deal. The only way these murders, and they're, folks, I'm telling you, it's an onion from hell. There's so many in North Mississippi, and you just didn't know it. I didn't. I mean, I'm telling you, folks, I'm getting so much. It's mind-boggling. When I read the newspaper report and I see what the family's saying, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. The same thing. Okay? And I've got more on Jeremy Williams in Chickasaw County. Monroe County, they're all part of this scheme of things. So they bring the drugs in, they set the dealers up, and then they furnish the drugs. Everybody gets to have the drugs, and they're not making busts. But I mean, that's rare. They're rare. The big bust you saw not long ago in Monroe County, that's all that show. That's fluff. Okay, that's all fluff. That's somebody been sitting where they've been sitting, doing what they've been doing forever and a day, and these people have no allegiance to anything. When you're evil and you're lying and you're abusing the public's trust, you cannot expect these people to have any scruples or to hold up with their character on leaving you alone. And so as they distribute the drugs, then they'll have other people to go in and constantly harass them, steal from them, torment them, stalk them, break in their house, on and on and on. And then the person complains, man, all this is going, you need to get off the pipe, or you're crazy. And that's exactly right. And they've got somebody down at Life Corps or the mental health place to take you in and give you a quick diagnosis. God forbid they ever address what really happened. Now, everybody is getting a lot of money. So what happens if somebody dies? Well, I'm going to tell you what happens. They're not going to investigate it. They're going to dismiss it like Cecil Castro did. I don't see a crime. MBI's got it. That's a joke. That's a joke. And you can contact Lynn Fitch. And I'm telling you, the only thing that she's done that demonstrated any type of authority, and she put a hotline up and everything, that if someone saw where someone was gouging on hand sanitizer, that by God, they wasn't going to stand for it, and they'd go after them. Mississippi was not going to have gouging on hand sanitizer. And I said, boy, we've arrived now. That's about as big of a stand she'll take. But now, when you complain about what I'm talking about, it's a well-known program. They talk about the funds. It's public knowledge, but try to talk about it. There is no avenue. I have a petition in, Targeted Individuals Protection Act, and that's going to Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith and 29 other members of the U.S. House of Representatives. We want an avenue. We're tired of the gaslighting. We're tired of we turn around. And the thing about it is many of the victims and their families have no idea that this program's going on. There's a name for the program or anything else. We just know that this is screwy. We're not in Kansas anymore. No, we're not. And so we got to protect the snitch. Because I'm going to tell you, what does snitch is going to do what a snitch is going to do. This guy here, yeah, the chances are very good he killed her. But I'm going to tell you, he's going to do everything he can to keep from getting the electric chair or the gas chamber, whatever it is. And what's he going to do? Let me tell you about the police, all of them. And they don't want that to happen. So, guess what? He gets a get out of jail free and don't care how many you kill card. Now, if everybody thinks that's okay, run with it. I think it's not okay. I think that I know that there's occasions where someone has to lie and whatever to make a bust and all that. This is not an occasion. This is their foundation. Everything they do. It's the perfect paradigm. We create the problem, we have the solution, and it's the holistic approach to community policing, meaning everybody does their part. That's your facts. That's your facts. And it is a Truman show from hell. Right here in North Mississippi. I've been talking about it, and people are just quiet. You can hear crickets chirping. And the best they can do is they were trying to assassinate my character. Okay. I'm not running for office. I'm not trying to win a popularity contest. Not shaking hands, kissing babies. I'm telling it like it is. That's why I've got 2 cases in federal court. That's why I'm going to keep fighting. That's why they fight me. They everything. Made me unemployable. The whole 9 yards. These people have no morals. None. And I'm going to do something soon on these people. They have no morals, but they are riding church pews, thumping Bibles, and I'm a born-again Christian. And folks, my God is very clear on liars. Very clear on that. Very clear about serving 2 masters. Where's the compassion of these churches? Why haven't they demanded answers from those put in a position to give the answers? Folks, I'm telling you, if this don't fire you up, I don't know what is. What will? Too many people want to sit back and say, well, yeah, there's nothing I can do about it. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can pick the phone up and make a phone call. This family needs financial support. Well, they can get somebody, and let me tell you, a private investigator, they have cast their lot. This deal is kind of sewn up. An attorney, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. It's career assassination to tackle the deep state. Oh, and I didn't mention that, did you? We heard of the deep state, but we don't know what it is. I just told you what it is. How uninformed we are. I thought it was something to do with Washington, the swamp, and all that. No. I just explained the deep state. How do you think that a president or a person that got 10 votes is the president now? We're paying $5 a gallon. We can't get food at the grocery store. Okay? That's what you get off a damn lie and in this deep state deal. Okay? So if you're not having problems wrapping your mind, you shouldn't have your problem wrapping your mind around this. But this is when it really hits home. This is somebody's daughter, somebody's mother. And folks, let me tell you, it just tears my heart out because I know that what the family's going through. And I'm telling you, if I really tell you, you face this head on. And I'll do everything I can to help you get exposure. I'm not going to pull any punches. I will not sit back and let someone in an authority, without me weighing in on it, dismissing someone or chalking it off because they may have used drugs or because of whatever. And I know that is what is in, that's their playbook. That's how it works. That's how those that are running things, the ones that's got the money, it's on that old dope. Well, I know it. Isn't that something? While they're at some debutante ball or something like that. This is the dirty South. I don't care if people think we've come a long way. We ain't come nowhere. This is the dirty South. It still is the dirty South. And folks, everyone has not, all citizens have not been able to enjoy equal protection. This is a case in point. This is an awful, awful deal. An awful deal. And when was this snitch, he's got a handler, law enforcement, aware that this snitch, this rat, was abusing a woman with kids? a man that would abuse a woman, let me tell you, folks, that's the lowest form of cowardice. But a law enforcement officer knowing about it, not doing anything about it, is even worse. So you give a coward, woman beater, murderer a pass to cover your ass. That's the story on Kayla Prestridge. This is not something that's going to die and go away, and it just get over it, and life goes on. Yeah, life goes on. Life goes on. But now it's time for a whole lot of people to have a come to Jesus moment. You'll make that decision because you've got a family and you've got a mother here that's not letting it go. And now they've been put on and confirmed their worst nightmare and their suspicions of why law enforcement was dragging their ass. You give it to MBI and that makes it look official, that it's officially getting some big attention. No. They're scratching each other's back. They got it. What'd they get? They didn't take anything with them. What do they got? They're not doing anything. I bet she's called them. We can't discuss it or whatever. In other words, we can't keep up with the lies we're telling, and so we'd rather just keep it in mystique and mystery. We're working behind the scenes. This is special agent stuff. They're working behind the scenes, all right, but they ain't got nothing to do with solving this crime because they already know who did it. This is 21st century, folks. Let me leave you with this. The Privacy Act, it sounds good. Every text message in this country made is intercepted. Every email message, every telephone conversation. You can't walk into any store in any city without the government knowing about it. Facial recognition, Homeland Security's tapped into that. They're tapped into those high dollar lights. You see these big high dollar lights in Tupelo at the. So man, they've spent these are $100,000 cameras a piece. Have they got rid of that big of a problem? People running red lights? No, That ain't got nothing to do with running red lights. That thing's looking at you. They know where you are. Between that, the tag reader, and your cell phone, nothing is private. So, in short, law enforcement, thanks to the Fusion Center, Homeland Security, which is not a federal or state agency, go to their website. It's owned by private entities and state employees. Owned. And they get all this data, metadata, and all these, your pharmacological stuff, nothing's private. They get it, they fuse it together, and one nice palette, and you got morons drinking grapey codes in their mama's basement getting this. Because law enforcement has recruited them in to community-oriented policing. Now, they have to really keep this thing a secret and keep it on the down low. So, who better than to get a bunch of deplorables and narrow-minded morons that need to be validated? So they've got the Masons in there, the morons, the deplorables, the perverts, the gay mafia, and all those people have cast their lot because they all have their own private agenda. And it's not hard to teach them, we're going to lie about everything, deny. And they play these games. It's all theater. And when somebody dies, it's like, you're bucking the deal. Well, it just happened. She jumped out, lived with it. Well, you know what? The autopsy and the marks on does not reflect what you're saying happened. That should be not what somebody's saying conflicts with what happened. It's the evidence, the body, does not reflect what you're saying and how that happened. The coroner said that the bruises and the scratches, the abrasions and stuff was indicative to someone being pushed or forced out of the vehicle, not jumping. And there's a difference. There's a difference. Big difference. So this is where we are. And so in order for MBI cannot, this is absolutely a conflict of interest and very unethical for them to even insinuate that they're going to investigate this case, because this case has a snitch in it that works for law enforcement. There is a conflict of interest. And because it's state, local, and federal, remember this, they're all working together, it makes it a conflict of interest. They don't have an autonomous, they have the Public Integrity Office at the Attorney General's office. That's a joke. So none of them are autonomous, so that's a conflict of interest. The only thing the MBI can do at this point is request for the FBI to investigate this. That way, it will not give any hint to any improper procedures here. So far, it's been improper. Been 2 years of improper. 2 years of improper. You see, when somebody dies in a jail, they get autopsy, they get MBI, and all this stuff. You know, there's hoops you have to jump through. When an officer is involved and somebody dies, same deal. Now, normally, MBI they don't jump in on these deals. Local law enforcement's the deal, but they're in on this deal. And the only reason they're on this deal is they sense that they know exactly what's going on. They're not telling the family that. We're getting in on this deal because we're not going to tell you, but we're trying to keep the shit from hitting the fan. Well, I think the shit's hit the fan now, folks. I encourage you to keep me and these families in your prayers. This is nothing about this is easy, and it's very difficult to understand unless you have walked in those shoes and understand that their life stopped when they buried Kayla. Nothing is pretty. Nothing is happy. To dream of the future. All those things are, as you struggle to try to make those things real, but you're being torn and you're tormented because this has not been handled properly. It should not have happened. The person in the car with her is working for the police. They are responsible for this, and now they're covering it up. It's that simple, ladies and gentlemen. You can go to Justice for Kayla. I believe it's Justice. Justice for Kayla on Facebook. I understand they have a GoFundMe. And folks, I can't emphasize the importance of this. I try to raise funds every day, and people I don't know. It's in God's hands. But I encourage those that are involved with bringing awareness to this. You can rattle cages all you want. But I believe you're already getting over on this note about the corrupt law enforcement to the core, all the way to the highest office in this state. They got their hands dirty. That's a fact. No politician wants to talk about it. They want to talk about first responders and worship them and so forth. And folks, let me tell you, that's the last thing I'm going to do. They knew what the deal was, the dangers, when they took the damn job. And if we're going to worship these people because their job's dangerous, then we should go to these deep sea, the commercial fishermen and loggers. Their jobs are way more dangerous than law enforcement. We should be worshiping them and T-shirts and ribbons and having big food. All this. That's not this country is not the country I grew up in. or what I thought it was. What I thought it was. When we have a problem, we should be able to go to those with a badge. We never expect that when we've got crimes against humanity, human trafficking, sex trafficking, child trafficking, drug trafficking, murder for hire, we never expect the face of this to be easily identifiable with protected serve on the side of their car. Look no further than the news. Pasco County, Florida, it's predictive policing, and this Lenin, Stalin, Hitler-esque program. It's all a carryover from the banned COINTELPRO program that Congress told the FBI, hell no, this violates civil. It's targeting Americans. And J. Edgar Hoover, they just rebranded it, and we got the COPS program. That's right, the Neighborhood Watch. And so now, those people that before, only thing they had to do was sit at home and spend all their money on stuff that doesn't work off TV and go to bingo parlors. Now, they're driving Kias and Hondas and creeping around and meting out justice and the courts and lawyers and all that stuff. And we're going to do it our way. And that's what they're doing. That's what you're doing. So it's my friend, Brian Edwards. He's from Amory. Was killed in broad daylight in Columbus, Mississippi. A truck going southbound left the road, hit him in the back. He didn't see it coming. Brian was a nobody. He come from a prominent family. All this stuff. I've told his story. At least I've given you the Cliff Notes on it. I refuse to let that be his narrative. I fight because my friend was killed, and the day I found out about it, I was in the doctor's office in Amory, and a friend called me. I had no idea, and talked to him almost a year. Found out 3 days after the fact. Before I could get home, I had an aggressive truck that did everything to try to run me off a bridge in Nettleton. It's a white pickup truck. I got a picture of that and his tag number. And that man's day's coming too. And I said, I better not find out that was a white pickup truck, and it was, that hit Brian and killed him. This is how evil and diabolical these people are. They will send me the message. We got him, and we'll get you. Well, there's a difference here. I'm telling you right now, for you corrupt law enforcement, you criminals out there, you go and get you getting. I'm still standing on the Constitution. I'm still standing on the fact that this country, we still have some people that do have morals, that do have values, that still believe in God and country. And just because you put your hand on a Bible you've not read, took an oath to a God you don't believe in to protect the Constitution you think is a piece of garbage, does not mean we do and that we're going to stand for it. This family wants answers. I want to know. By you not charging this man and doing a real investigation, simply says you consent with murder. And people pulled the lever for this man to be in office. Think about it. Let me hear from you, folks. Until next time, God bless you.